It's wonderful to see so many of you here before the concert. This is a new thing for us. We thought, with all the wonderful changes that are about to come about with the Stamford Symphony, it would be a wonderful opportunity, and the first opportunity that we could take, to talk you through the new season, which will be Michael Stern's first season as music director, starting in the fall. And so without further ado, let's welcome the next music director of the Stamford Symphony, Michael Stern. Hello, Michael. Hello. Oh my gosh. So the image behind us has been chosen deliberately. It's not a sunset, it's a wonderful sunrise, it's a dawn, it's a new era. And Michael is absolutely going to lead us into a wonderful purple patch for this extraordinary orchestra, our wonderful musicians, and you, our incredible audience. So Michael, give us a very brief overview of how you put the season together next year and some of the big pillars that we could expect.
Shall I use the same joke?
Yes,
He wants the pillars of the season. He wants us to engage in pillar talk.
Oh, much better laugh than yesterday. Right, excellent.
All right. First of all, I'm delighted that you came out today for what I think is going to be a very exciting concert. We have this splendid opportunity to make music with one of my favorite musicians and favorite people ever, Pamela Frank. But that really is a harbinger of things to come. Wonderful guest artists, the orchestra playing at a new level. And as we were talking in the weeks and months leading up to the final decisions about this next season, it became clear to us that it's much more difficult to make a really great and complete season when you've only got 5 concerts. So we do have the aspiration to increase the number of concerts in the years to come. But the reason I say that is you want every program to land and you want variety. And when you have 12, 18, 24, like the New York Philharmonic has 24, 26 subscription weeks, it's much easier to hit a broad range of repertoire and not worry about repeating anything. We try to make every program really distinctive and also to share with you some of the people coming to play with us as soloists who I most enjoy, who I think are most deserving to be heard, who are really important artists, or at least compelling artists on their way to becoming well-known and important artists, and giving you a thrilling musical experience which is different from the other concerts. So I think that's what really was the guiding principle. There was no overarching theme to the year. Again, difficult to do that with 5 concerts, but there are some things worth noting. 2020 is an auspicious year because we celebrate the 250th birthday of Ludwig van Beethoven. Have you ever heard of it? And it just so happens it's because of that this concert was originally programmed with him in mind. So we have Beethoven coming up in the fall a little bit, just a last couple of gasps left to give him his due. But it's also just a wonderful thing to contemplate where the first step will be in this journey together. I guess the old adage that you only have one chance to make a first impression is somewhat true. But I don't worry about that because I'm already thinking what's coming 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line. And so the building blocks of that musical journey are in place in this season.
Absolutely. So let's look at the very first, how that plays out in our very first opening weekend on the 24th and 25th of October, where we have a wonderful opening weekend with a very special soloist.
Do you think that soloists might have, I don't know, been inclined to share with us a little message?
I think you might. Let's see who's coming in October.
Those are the first notes of the Bruch G minor concerto, which I'll be playing with Michael Stern, my old friend in Stamford, with your orchestra. He is now the new music director, full season as music director. So looking forward to being here with you in Stamford, and Michael, and of course the Brooklyn Jam.
So I'm thrilled to be able to start this journey together with somebody like Pinka Zuckerman. I've known him literally all my life, and weirdly, he's known me all of my life. But another moment of both musical and personal importance to me and to my family is that 2020 also happens to be the centenary of my father. And nobody was more of a protege, more of a friend, more of a colleague to Isaac Stern than Pinka Zuckerman. So that we can start this series of concerts with him playing the iconic Bruchkonzerto is really meaningful to me. And one of our goals is to try to expand the envelope of the repertoire that the Stamford Symphony has played in recent years and in some cases has never played. And as we go through the season, there are quite a few works that have never been played by the Stamford Symphony, which are huge omissions. And doing the Brahms Second Symphony on the first program, which is one of my desert island pieces, and an absolutely marvelously triumphant way to start the season, makes for a very special program indeed.
And we open that concert with Prokofiev's Classical Symphony, which makes a beautiful start to the season.
It is. It's an incredibly virtuosic work, and that also I had in mind. It was Prokofiev writing this piece in the style of Haydn, but of course, cheeky as he was as a student at the conservatory, wanting to absolutely turn Haydn on his head. And he writes one of the most difficult pieces in the orchestral repertoire, and I just love the idea of being able to start this new year together by showing off the virtuosity of the Stamford Symphony, of which I'm so proud.
You mentioned Beethoven, and we conclude our Beethoven 250 celebration in November the 14th and 15th, and we're playing one of the most loved symphonies.
Well, you know, he wrote 9 of them, and it's difficult to, it's like asking which of your children do you like best?
That's easier, isn't it?
Well, in my case, it's the ones who are on a sleepaway date, you know, overnight. No, I'm just kidding. They're here, I have to be careful. All 9 symphonies of Beethoven are great. I always answer the question, which is your favorite? The one we're doing right in front of us. So today, by far, the 7th Symphony is absolutely my favorite. But the Pastoral Symphony, number 6, it was truly a revolutionary work from Beethoven, completely different from any symphony that had been written before, inspired composers forever after, and is such a moment of extraordinary beauty and profundity that, and we have not played it in quite a while here in Stamford, so it makes it an absolutely ravishing end to a concert, which also includes the famous Appalachian Spring of Aaron Copland, which is another one of my favorite pieces. So it's a very nature, springy, life-affirming program, which I'm incredibly looking forward to.
Then we jump to February the 6th and 7th, and we've called this concert As Good as It Gets. Why did we do that?
You need to ask, Russell. As Good as It Gets implies that you cannot, of the 2 things on the program, they are the best representations in their world. The Second Symphony of Sibelius is one of the most stirring, the most riveting and compelling pieces of music of the 20th century. Sibelius was, more by consignment than by choice, the official national composer of Finland, and this music was a rallying cry. But forever after, it became sort of the blueprint for anthem-like stirring music. That, the 5th Symphony, Finlandia, all of those were really rallying cry soundtracks for the Finnish people, especially in times of real struggle. And it is, again, such a positive life force that runs through this piece. It really is, I've done this piece for 30 years, I never tire of it. The Stamford Symphony has not played it in eons. And it requires an expanded orchestra, it requires real understanding and power. I cannot wait to do it here in Stamford next season. And on the first half, the cello concerto. There are many cello concertos, but this is the cello concerto, the Dvorak, famous Dvorak cello concerto. Again, a perennial favorite for all the right reasons. Sometimes a masterpiece simply is just that, a masterpiece without any kind of apology. And we have a marvelous young cellist to play it, our friend, Nicholas Kamalakis.
And he sent us a message. Let's look at the video.
Hi, I'm Nick Kanalakis, and I'm so excited to be playing with the Stamford Symphony and Michael Stern in his inaugural season. That's really exciting. I've known Michael a long time, actually. I don't even know if you remember this, but I played in college at the Curtis Institute of Music in the orchestra when he conducted the Sibelius Second Symphony in Carnegie Hall. I remember it very well. But this is the first time I'm going to be working with him as a soloist, so I am thrilled. Especially because the piece we're going to play is probably the piece that made me want to be a cellist, which is the Dvorak cello concerto. It's sort of our crown jewel of the cello repertoire, and I never get tired of it. It is just the most wonderful, genius gift to us cellists that I can think of, and I can't wait to play it with Michael and the Stamford Symphony next February.
Sweet. I have to say, I did not remember that he had been in the orchestra when I conducted Sibelius too. That was not the reason for putting Sibelius on that program, but the fact that it now is there links us to the past, our past friendship when he was smaller, younger at least. And the idea of, I wouldn't say mentorship, but watching these incredibly talented people come into their own from student days to now, where he's a fully formed and absolutely brilliant soloist, is really gratifying. It's going to be a lovely concert.
Sure is. Now, April the 24th and 25th, I think this is a really interesting program to put together around Vienna and Mozart.
So, in the spirit of full disclosure, I don't usually love programs that are given only to one composer. Today's is an exception because Beethoven is truly different. I mean, Beethoven is unique in that there is so much variety, even in pieces that he wrote very close to one another. But if you wanted to do just a Vienna program or just a Mozart program, you need variety. Well, Mozart was it in Vienna in his day, certainly towards the end of his life. And we have two of his greatest works on that program, the A major piano concerto, one of my favorites, Orchestra 488, with one of the most hauntingly beautiful slow movements ever. And of course, the great E-flat Major Symphony number 39, which was the first of the trilogy of those last great symphonies that he wrote. In a matter of 7 weeks, it's kind of amazing that all of those pieces came rushing out of him, including the Jupiter Symphony that some of you may have heard last spring when we did it here. So those two pieces anchoring the program, I wanted to have a different kind of reflection on Vienna. The contemporary Russian composer, although she's lived in America and she lived in Israel for a while, now she's living in Europe, Lyra Auerbach, a brilliant composer, and she wrote an homage to Mozart, which she called Eternity, which is a beautiful, short, loving, Mozart-inspired nod to Mozart himself. And I think it's a lovely way to kick off not only the concert of Mozart's music, but to show how music really is just an unending stream, an unending continuum of influence and ideas and sound worlds and ultimately human communication. And then we wanted something to reflect yet another aspect of Vienna, and we chose the Adagietto, the glorious slow movement of Mahler's Fifth Symphony. Yes, Mahler's Fifth Symphony is an enormous undertaking, but here in the middle of that symphony, he brings everything down to a whispered hush. And this love poem that he wrote to his wife, which is only strings and harp, is truly one of the most affecting and singularly perfect moments of beauty ever written. And Mahler in his day was Vienna the way Mozart was Vienna back in his day. So I think it's an incredibly varied program, contemporary work, Mahler, Mozart, with a wonderful piano soloist with whom I've never worked to play the piano concerto, a fellow
Brit. We like Brits.
Mark Bennington, do you think he might send a message?
Let's see if Mark sends us a message.
Hello everybody, this is Mark Bevington speaking from a very rainy and windswept and stormy United
Told you he was English.
but wishing all of you all warmest, best greetings, and to say how much I'm really looking forward to coming to Stamford and to playing the Mozart A Major Concerto, the K488. In a way, all 27 of these Mozart piano concertos are gems, but one of my absolute favourites is this A Major, which I think is probably the most lyrical of all of them. It's an absolute masterpiece, and I can't wait to play it with the orchestra, and also to meet many of you, I hope. So I much look forward to the concerts and to working under Maestro Stan. So all good wishes to you all until next year. Many thanks indeed.
I think that's going to be very, very good. Then we do something I think we haven't done for quite a while. We have a concert in May, on May the 15th and 16th. That's how the calendar's worked this year. But I think for many of you who go to Florida and the snowbirds, that may allow you to squeeze in another concert by doing something in May when you're back. And this is quite an incredible end to your first season right now.
Well, one of Russell's directives to me was, we need to really push the envelope and do stuff that we have not done before, and let's go for broke. And when he suggested doing the famous Mussorgsky pictures at an exhibition in the Ravel orchestration, which is way bigger than anything that the Stamford Symphony has presented for a very long time, and this piece they've never done, I was completely game. So then I started to think about the idea of pictures and music, art, visual art and musical art, and I decided to open the concert with a really interesting work, lovely, not lovely, it was powerful work of a young American composer who's now had a lot of success with a lot of different orchestras in a lot of different places around the world. He's written for the Philadelphia Orchestra, the Atlanta Symphony, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and so forth. This was his first orchestral piece. I commissioned him in 2004 or 5, I think, maybe 2006. And he wrote this piece based on 4 tableaus of Mark Rothko. Each tableau with a color and a theme, and the movement for that artwork reflects incredibly carefully and closely the affect and the mood of that painting. So the idea of memorializing, in one case, the art itself, in the case of the Mussorgsky, the act of having visual art move into you, became the 2 bookends of the concert. And in the middle, we were thinking, what should we ask our great friend Elena Orliosti, the fabulous young American violinist, to play? And I thought of the concerto by Erich Korngold. Korngold was really, without argument, a genius. His first opera was produced by the Vienna State Opera when he was 13 years old. His catalog was already enormous by the time he was 15, and then the war came and he had to escape to the United States. And he settled not on the East Coast, but on the West Coast, and became a fixture in Hollywood. So if any of you remember the Errol Flynn movies of yesteryear, he wrote the music for a lot of them, including the 1937 Prince and the Pauper. And the third movement of this violin concerto is basically the movie for that film, but it is redone in such a virtuosic and marvelous way, and it must have been so because he wrote it for none other than Jascha Heifetz, who gave the world premiere. So this is an absolutely fantastic work, and while it doesn't really take its inspiration directly from images or visual art, the fact that there is this connection to the movies, it's a little bit of a stretch, but you know what? I put the program together, I can do what I want.
And we have a message from Elena. Let's hear from her.
Hi, my name is Elena Uriosti and I play the violin. I am so excited to be returning to the Stamford Symphony as soloist, to work with Michael Stern, and to be performing Korngold's Violin Concerto. I am so excited for Michael and wish him all the best in his inaugural season in Stamford. And just wanted to mention that the Corn Gold is one of my absolute favorite violin concertos to play. It's lush, it's romantic, so juicy, old world Hollywood. It's just a really delicious piece of music, and it's one of my very favorite things to play.
So, I wanted to finish the season with something lush. In our wildest dreams, we thought maybe something romantic, but juicy.
It's a wonderful way to end what's going to be a wonderful first season. But there's more. Some of you last month came to the Stamford Museum and Nature Centre, and we had a sellout concert there of our principal strings, forming a string quartet, playing two wonderful Beethoven quartets, which were very, very successful. I'm pleased to say we'll be doing 3 chamber music concerts next season. And the first one will be something I'm almost certain none of us in the room have heard before, a quartet of double basses. Yeah, there's some very, very interesting repertoire actually written for 4 double basses, and we'll be doing that concert at the Atrium in Yukon, just over the road from Target. So that's going to be a very, very interesting program. We're going back to the Museum and Nature Centre with a different quartet, playing a very sunny, warm, spring-like concert. We'll make use of the open-air deck there and have a glass of wine, meet the musicians, and they have a wonderful program for you. And in the middle, we'll be at the Stamford Symphony with our incredible principal winds. The wind quintet is a wonderful format for music making, and I'm very pleased to say that we have with us this afternoon our principal flute, Elizabeth Mann, who helped put the program together, and she's going to tell us about it. Hi, Liz. Hi, good to see you. Hello.
Michael?
So tell us about this program that you and the guys put together for us.
Well, first of all, we thank you for inviting us to do this, because often, you know, the winds are featured in the orchestra, but it's different when you take us out of the orchestra and put us in a woodwind quintet. And there are so many wonderful composers who wrote music for this combination, and this program is really featuring the best of all of the music that in this repertoire, I think, some of my favorite pieces. And it's, again, there's a lot of variety. The first piece is Ibert, a French composer, and the highlight, I think, or the featured piece is by Hindemith, who's written a lot of great orchestral music, but this particular piece really features the instruments, and in fact, one of the movements is, each person has a cadenza that plays by themselves, and the movement is, I think, 26 seconds long, the whole movement, and we each get to play this virtuoso riff, and then the second half we're featuring some jazz music, and so it's really a great opportunity to hear some different kind of music, but for me personally, as a flutist, I'm prejudiced in feeling that there's something very unique about hearing the winds featured in a concert.
And not just the fact that you obviously have played German going correct, and it's like you're getting back to your roots, because you had, from way back, you had woodwind quintet.
In my head, yes, that's right. I mean, I was trained, I went to Juilliard, and I was trained to really be an orchestral musician, and when I was in New York, I got into, there was an audition for this woodwind quintet, but they had just won Naumburg, and we played 75 concerts the first year I was in the group, and it's called the Dorian Quintet. And I was in the group for about 10 years, and then I joined an orchestra, so I stopped doing that. So I don't get to play woodwind quintet concerts all the time. So when I do, I'm very joyous, because it is one of my first loves.
And the people you're playing with, you played with for a long time.
I have.
So that makes, you know, I think about this, I certainly thought about it last night, when you're standing on stage with such great complicit partners in music. Certainly Pamela Frank is that. And everybody sitting around her. You just feel that with friendship and collegiality, the music making gets stronger. When you have your group of woodwind players that you know so well, it deepens the experience from the stage and to the audience. I think that's really something worth mentioning.
Yeah, I have to say that we come to Stamford, and a lot of us live in New York, but we come to Stamford because this is one of our favorite places to play. We just really love our colleagues. We love the environment here. We're so excited to have you with as you know, now as our fearless leader and as a conductor, but we really, we come here because we just love playing together, and as wind players, we have a long history. Some of us actually went to school together many years ago.
Well, we're very lucky to have you. We're so lucky to have the incredible musicians of the Symphony. And finally, I just want to tell you, not finally at all, because it's really important, we open the season in September with our annual gala. This will include a full concert. We're calling it the Roaring Twenties in 2020. It features Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks, but it also features members of the Stamford Symphony, conducted by Michael, and they're going to play the original version, which was written for the Paul Whiteman Band by George Gershwin of Rhapsody in Blue. And we're going to perform that right where we're sitting here on stage in front of the curtain, and then lucky 300 people after the concert will join us on stage for dinner, sitting on this wonderful stage looking into this wonderful auditorium for our annual gala. This will be the third year we've done this. It sells out, it's very successful, it's a wonderful way that we can support the members of the orchestra, and I do encourage you to join us for what's going to be a wonderful, wonderful evening in September the 26th. So that's Michael Stern's inaugural season. It's our 2021 season. Please watch your mailboxes in the next couple of days, because this rather beautiful brochure is dropping onto your doormats and your mailboxes with all the details of the concerts and an opportunity to subscribe and renew your contributions to the orchestra. We couldn't be happier. We're looking forward to a very, very successful year, and you're absolutely part of it. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.